Hey everyone, Dominic here with the Raveing Hordes Game Club in Saskatoon. This time we've got round 3 of the March to War tournament we had here. This is Empire of Sonnstahl versus Highborn Elves. The third scenario was Counter Thrust with Capture the Flags as a secondary objective. So let's get right into it. Here's a quick look at the table there after deployment. For the Highborn Elves, he's got a bolt thrower, silver helms, 2 units of sea guard side by side, 2 chariots. Beside the chariots, he's got a big unit of sword masters with his BSB in there. There's a prince on a griffin, and there's some Rymanites with a character in there as well, the Queen's Cavalier character, and then just in the bottom there is a sky sloop. For the Empire of Sonnstahl, we've got a tank, there's some readers, electoral cav with an inquisitor and a prelate in that unit, an altar behind, there's a big unit of Imperial Guard with a captain BSB and a prelate. Beside that, there's some light infantry. Beside the infantry, there is another unit of electoral cav. And then way over on the edge there, I guess there's a cannon and a mortar in the back. And then way over on the edge, he's got a knight commander on a griffin and some griffin knights. So, Highborn Elves took turn 1, and here we go. There was a little bit of a vanguard with those reavers, as you can see, they're way up there. Everything else just kind of moves up slightly onto the hill positioning. Not a lot of positioning on turn 1. You can see that's pretty much it for movement. Going into magic, he tried to do a Quicksilver Lash and failed his casting roll. Tried to do that on one of the units of knights. It cast the Oaken Throne, it went off. And then he got Flavor Melodies as well. And then he had 1 Veil token just left in the pool. Into shooting, he goes and shoots some... What did he do? He shot a whole bunch of... not sure why there's some wounds on those guys there. But he did shoot a whole bunch of light infantry. And... oh yeah, the Sky Cutter, the sloop. Took 2 knights, that's where that's from. And then the 2 units of Sea Guard piled off a whole rank of light infantry. So Empire of Sonnstahl, turn 1. Again, not a lot of movement. This is kind of what the board looks like going into turn 1. The tank goes in. Everything else on this far flank advances pretty quick. And the other side moves up very slowly. As you can see, there was a lot of damage done to those light troops. Into magic phase, he went and cast Ice and Fire, which got dispelled. He got Olar's Blessing, I believe, on the Imperial Guard, and Volan's Blessing on the Knights. Tried to do a different blessing, which was dispelled there, and then he went into shooting. That was quite a blurry picture. The mortar hits and does a bunch of wounds to the Swordmasters, killing 5 of them. Shot the infantry, killed 2 more. The cannon shot at, I believe, the chariots, but failed to wound, actually. In combat, the tank grinds away those reavers, no problem. And we're going into turn 2 for the Highborn Elves. Again, here's kind of what the table is shaping up. So he declares a charge with those chariots down to the Electoral Cav, and another charge from the Silver Helms into the Griffin Knights. That's it for charges. Both of them made it in, as you can see. Elsewhere, he just kind of moves for positioning, gets the Swordmasters off of the hill. Didn't really want to take another mortar shot. Into the magic phase, Again, he tries to do Quicksilver Lash, which got dispelled. He got Favor Melodies, which went off again. And I think that was pretty much it for magic. Into the shooting, it does a bunch more wounds to the light infantry. The bolt thrower fires the altar and missed, and does a couple wounds to the readers as well. I think, yeah, shot at the readers, did a couple wounds. I think he did 2 wounds, and yeah, shot those guys off. And there's only 3 left, I believe, at this point. We go into combat, and it turns out to be a complete push. They do 2 wounds and a charge, and the Empire did 2 wounds back and have a banner. So they just sit there surprisingly and look at each other. Over in this combat, it didn't go as good for the Highborn Lancers. They charged in but didn't do too much damage. I think they might have taken 1 guy off, or even maybe just 2 wounds. The general opens up, and the Griffin Knights, well, I guess the Griffins themselves, open up and do a bunch of wounds to the Lancers. The Lancers fled, and they got run down. So that's kind of what the board is shaping up like as we go into Empire turn 2 only. So for charges, those Griffin Knights declare a charge against the flank of the Sea Guard. They hold, and I think that was it for charges in this turn here. Yeah, there's the charge, made it in. Tank moves up pretty fast, and the Knights kind of position in place there to charge whatever's going to charge the tank. Readers move up to take some shots at the sloop. Magic phase, he got the Rod of Battle off on those Knights. He also got Ulr's Blessing on those Knights, Volan's Blessing off on those Knights, and all of the dispel attempts actually failed this round. This was rather unfortunate for the Highborn Elves. Going into shooting, the cannon shot the general. It misfired and it took a wound. Then the tank shot at the... I forget where it shot at. I think it shot at the Knights, but misfired and took a wound. And then the I didn't take a picture of it, but the mortar misfired as well, and it can't shoot for the next turn. That's what I got. So going into combat against the Sea Guard, they don't actually do a lot of damage. I think they peeled off about a rank and a half, but they are steadfast and they stick. Over here, it's actually a draw again with wounds and banners and whatnot. So they're just holding out their position again as we go into Highborn Elves turn 3. So for Highborn Elves turn 3, the Rymanites declare a charge against the tank. The Sky Sloop in the back declares a charge against those readers that are way in the back. And the Prince on his Griffin declares a charge against the front of the Griffin Knights there as well. Everything made it in. There's those two. And it went straight into magic after that. So into magic, the Empire dispelled the Oaken Throne to start, and then he tried to do Quicksilver Lash on, I believe, just those Imperial Guard. Got dispelled, got Flavor of Melodies off, and he did Healing Waters, but failed his casserole. So into shooting, as you can see, those handgunners that used to be here, just the 3 left, are gone. The bolt thrower shot and missed at the altar again. And then into combat. The Sky Sloop wipes out those readers with impact hits and overruns. In Rymanite combat there, they do 5 more wounds to the tank. So it's got 1 left. But it's unbreakable. It did a little bit of damage back, but not too much. He just he negated it with Favor of Melodies, I believe. And that's it. I didn't take a picture. Over in the other combat with this one here, I guess, with the chariot, they do kill the chariot finally this round. And into this combat, one of the Griffin Knights dies there. The Griffin himself gets bumped out of combat, and the Lord and the last remaining Griffin Knight, I guess the champion had issued a challenge with the Griffin accepted. So there's just the Standard Bearer left. But they actually won combat, but the Sea Guard stuck. And then we're going into Empire of Sonnstahl turn 3. So right there, those guys declare a charge against the Sea Guard, and they flee. He didn't redirect into the other one though. The Knights up here charged the flank of the Raveing Knights, made it in no problem. And there's just a picture of that, and the eagle. Actually, I think this is actually after combat. Not sure. Either way, into magic, I did Ulr's Blessing on those Knights. That one went off. He did Volan's Blessing on those Knights, and I think that one got dispelled. Either way, there's not too terribly much for magic here, really, for the rest of the game. Shooting the cannon shot at the Sky Sloop and toasted it off. And then they go into combat. For the rest of the game, actually, my camera battery died at this point, so I stuck taking a few pictures with my camera phone. So the rest of the pictures are kind of terrible and lacking, which I apologize for. But so you kind of get the cliff notes from here on in. So in the one combat here, those last remaining Griffin Knights and the character finish off the few Sea Guard, reform to face. Those Raveing Knights that are fighting the tank, they didn't put the final wound on the tank. The flank charge was too much for them. They fled and got ran down. Both the tank and the Knights went into the front of those Sea Guard, or not the Sea Guard, sorry, the Sword Masters. This is actually a picture from the start of Highborn Elves' next turn. So the Sea Guard back there rally, I guess, kind of midway. Yeah, like I said, kind of cliff notes. So this Griffin character in the next turn charges the front there. Those Sea Guard rallied, as you can see, into the combat there against the general. The Griffin character killed his general, chased and ran down the last remaining Griffin Knight. Over in the tank combat, the tank held the first round of combat with one wound on it, but the Knights actually bounced and they fled. As you can see, that here they are back here after they had already rallied. So there's only 2 characters left in the rally. And then into the next turn for Empire. Like I said, this is all mixed up. Empire, the Imperial Guard, I guess, they charge the front of those Sword Masters to try and do some damage. This round, fighting that combat, the tank died, and the Imperial Guard kind of whiffed. They did a little bit of damage, but not a lot. They passed their stubborn check, and they stuck around. So into Highborn Elves turn 5. As you can see, the Sea Guard are actually facing this way. They charge the front, they make it in, and that's pretty much it for Highborn Elves. This fight continues to go on. For the rest of the game, actually, they just kind of continue to casually grind each other out a little bit. Nobody's really making up a lot of ground for the rest of the game. In Empire of Sonnstahl turn 5, the last two remaining characters decide to declare a charge. They fail that charge, only make it here. These knights declared a charge against the bolt thrower and fail their charge as well. The altar moves up to flank the general. The general had moved around over here. There's that failed charge, and that's kind of where the board is looking like. Like I said, this battle just continues to grind out for quite some time. Again, that failed charge. Pictures are kind of wobbly here. That's pretty much close to the end of the game. So right here on this turn, they actually kind of called it. The general on the Griffin there, he took a cannonball to the back and got wiped off the board there, and that's where the Highborn Elves just kind of put out their hand and so that was enough there. All that was left on the table were the bolt thrower for the Highborn Elves, which would have been probably destroyed in turn 6, and that Sea Guard unit with a dwindled Swordmaster unit beside. So they're pretty hurt. For the Empire Sonnstahl, there's that one unit of Electoral Cav that's also at half strength. There's 4 out of 5 characters are still left alive. That altar is there, and then the 2 war machines in the back are still there. So again, sorry for the bad pictures of this one. I was expecting the camera battery to hopefully last a little bit longer, but the end of this game, like I said, it was a 20-0 victory. It was the Highborn Elves conceded the defeat. It was a good game. I think a few points there probably could have went a little bit differently, but that's okay. So that's the last round of the tournament. At the end of the tournament, did up the scores, gave away the prizes. The Warriors Army in the first video I did for this one took home first prize. The Chaos Dwarves in the second video took second, and the Empire of Sonnstahl there in the last video took third place. So it was a really fun tournament. This is a bit of a warm-up game for the Canadian Open. A bunch of us actually, I think, what is there? I think there's 7 out of the I think about 7 of the 8 players in the tournament are all going to the Canadian Open, so as well as myself. So again, good games, good practice, a lot of fun to have a bunch of guys to getting together in a pretty laid back setting. But that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoy that, even though got some absolutely terrible pictures for that one. Stay tuned for the next one.